Okay, so let's take a look at what that actually is like when the beds get refilled after the growing season is over. You can see I have had bell pepper plants in here, and they've been cut down, and I just leave their remnants, the trunks and everything, even some unused fruit there. I leave that in here. The bed is really far down. Typically in the beginning of the growing season, the dirt, so to speak, will be back up to this level because it has decayed throughout the year, throughout the growing season. It's way down. So it is October, almost November, and I'm going to fill this back up with old hay that I don't need anymore in the barns, which if you don't have a barn, you can get it from a feed store, hay that is a little rotted or just unused. Now some people argue the hay has grass seed in it and it will make this grass seed sprout in your bed. That is sort of true, but also not really a problem because we are going to generate a lot of heat from the decay in that bed, and that will ruin a lot of the seed, or it will make it sprout and then it dies immediately. So it's not a problem. Here is some old stuff from the barn. It's just hay. It does not have manure in it. Manure is great, but you don't have to have it. Decaying plant matter will do the trick just as well. Don't worry about it if you don't have access to manure. So we are going to fill this bed up. Now I've put everything in that was in this big wheelbarrow, and it just didn't quite get me to the end, so I'm gonna get more. I will also at some point climb up in here and stomp it down to pack it. During the season that you have it decay, you don't need to turn it. Some people say you have to turn a compost. You don't. Just pack it down. It will decay just fine. We want easy and low work, right? And that absolutely works for us here. So I should make sure to introduce you to my garden helpers, Little Gray and also Scooter. The two gray boys, as they are collectively known in my place. Okay, so I filled my bed up. I personally am not going to make this now wet because I think my area will get enough rain between now and springtime to just keep it moist enough to let it decay. If you do live in an arid region where rains are hard to come by, you should always think about it every few days. Otherwise it could take years to decay if it were left dry. For filling those little holes in the bricks for the next growing season, I just take food scraps from the kitchen, like something from this morning, and I put them in there and I pack them down perhaps a little bit, but other than that they can decay right in here, and by the next growing season this should all be good to go to plant right into it. And there you have it. That's really all there is to it. Throughout the decay season, as I call it, or throughout the non-planting season, just keep adding to it because this will sink way down as it decays. It will have a lot less volume than it has now. You can add to it clear up to about 4 weeks before you start planting into it. If you add to it that shortly before planting, make sure you make it wet every day so it still has enough time to decay at least somewhat, and it will be fine. You can absolutely plant into it even if it still looks like plant scraps. If it doesn't look like real potting soil or anything, it will take it years to look like potting soil. It will eventually, but that doesn't mean you cannot plant into it right away.